The new Hearthstone mini set Onyxia's Lair will be released today, and I have a feeling that Onyxia's Lair is going to showcase the future of Hearthstone. But before we get to that, let me know what you think of the new mini set. You think it's good? You think it's bad? Let me know with a comment down below. And while you're there, make sure you subscribe. A lot of you aren't, and I would appreciate it. A lot of the new cards in Onyxia's Lair don't look extremely promising in the current metagame. They look rather slow. And it's not that the cards are bad, it just doesn't seem like they'll do enough. And I think compared to a lot of the decks that kill you pretty quickly, these cards just seem like they're not going to be fast enough to really see any play until rotation. Cora, who is one of the developers that worked on the game, tweeted, "I'm seeing some comments about the cards in Onyxia's Lair mini set, basically boiling down to these cards can't compete with OTK decks, and I would like to share my thoughts." Before we get to that, let me go through the cards I actually think have potential to see play right now. Raid Negotiator looks like it'd be a perfect fit for the current Ramp Druid, especially with a card like Nourish. Voracious Howl for Hunter looks like it's a perfect draw engine for Face Hunter, which desperately needs card draw because they play a lot of cheap cards. Horn of Wrathion, it looks really good for some kind of slower Dragon Priest deck, especially for 3 mana. This draws a card and summons 2/1 with Rush. Onyxian Drake looks extremely good to fit into the current Control Warrior that's in the metagame. It's like Shield Slam with a stick, and it's a pretty good stick. I do think the best card from the mini set is Curse of Agony, which is 21 fatigue damage on its own, and that's not even including the synergistic aspect with Temzin. And this card against a combo type deck or any deck that wants to draw a ton is extremely powerful because they're going to draw into their Curses of Agony quite fast, and you might just strictly kill them off this card. But most of the other cards just don't seem that good, especially like Infestation, which just looks so bad next to Dreadlich Tamsin. I do want to mention that I am hopeful that Kazaku-san will see play because the card is so interesting and it could lead to a lot of exciting moments. Please make this card work. I know I'm making it seem like a lot of these cards will not see play, but I don't think they'll see play right now. I think they'll see play in the future. And I think that's the point. A lot of the cards in the set are intentionally weak because they want to lower the power level of standard, and Cora backs up this claim entirely. We've made a real effort in the last few months to reduce the power level and representation of combo/OTK decks in the meta. Measuring every card reveal based on whether it can compete versus a quest lock is totally reasonable, but the landscape will continue to change. And she is entirely right. At rotation, we are losing 3 extremely powerful expansions with Ashes of Outlands, Skullman's Academy, and Darkmoon Faire, which is not as powerful, but it's still pretty decent. Especially Skullman's Academy, which is one of the most powerful sets we've ever seen. A lot of the cards that make these OTK decks impactful will be leaving. And this is a huge opportunity for the Hearthstone development team to start focusing on more board-centric matchups and more focus on playing for minions rather than killing each other just from hand. I do realize that United and Stormwind is still going to be in standard after the rotation, but I do think that United and Stormwind won't be as impactful without Skullman's Academy. And if they made Onyxia's Lair a really powerful mini set that was focused on the current meta and making sure a lot of the cards are playable, the metagame would probably not change the following year, and we would still be playing around the OTK and extremely fast aggro decks. With the core set rotation and the release of the first expansion of the new year, I think you'll see an effort to incentivize board-based gameplay. It's something that I personally have been keeping in mind when designing cards for the upcoming year. And when you keep that in mind, the cards in this mini set become a lot better, especially if the metagame does become a lot more board focused. A card like Raid Boss Onyxia looks extremely weak in a metagame that is all favored around OTKs, but if the metagame becomes more board centric, Onyxia stonks go way up. And that is the case with the majority of the cards in this mini set. Kazaku-san becomes a lot better of a card. Onyxian Warder becomes insanely powerful in a board-centric metagame. And that doesn't mean that all the cards have to be centered around a board-centric metagame, and it also means that not every single card will see play because it's a board-centric metagame. Some of these cards are just straight up not good, but that does mean a card, for instance, like Don't Stand in the Fire, which doesn't seem that great currently, will look a lot better in a board-centric metagame. And that's exactly what the developers of Onyxia's Lair were thinking as well. Cora writes, "A lot of the Onyxia Lair mini set is designed with the future in mind and not necessarily just slotting cards into existing decks. Some things certainly would fit in the landscape for right now, but we like to think ahead as well. And using the cards that we have in the mini set, we can kind of see what archetypes they're probably going to create in future expansions in the upcoming year. Druid, it looks like it's going to get a lot more support for choose one, as well as some board clears, which Druid desperately needs right now because it does not really have any. Hunter looks like it's going to get support for a beast type of deck with the Rat King, and as well as more support for Face Hunter, which seems to never die because it's been in the game forever. Mage actually has me the most curious because it looks like we're going back to more of a control centric mage, especially with a card like Deep Breath really showcasing what kind of design they're looking for with amount of spells in your hand. Paladin looks like it's going to be wanting to buff its board, especially with a card like Stormwind Avenger, really showcasing that you want to be able to cast spells on minions. Can we just take a moment and appreciate that Libram Paladin is finally going to be rotating out of standard? It feels like it's been here for 300 years. Priest looks like it's going to be catered towards a Death Rattle or a Dragon archetype, which Dragon Priest was one of the most popular archetypes in Hearthstone. I'm going to be honest, Rogue, I have no idea, but if Smokescreen is playable, that's got to be an extremely fun Rogue deck. Shaman looks like it's going to be catered towards a control shaman, which is one of my favorite archetypes, so please let that happen, Blizzard. I'm just going to ignore Infestation for Warlock, but the other two are extremely cool. Curse of Agony I've already talked about, but I do think if there's ever some kind of combo deck that wants to draw a ton, this card will see play, where Spawn of Deathwing might enable a brand new thing in Warlock. Warrior looks like it's going to be catered towards more of a tempo warrior with a card like Hit Very Hard, which is an efficient removal without any armor needed, or towards a control archetype, obviously with Onyxia Drake. But I think the biggest aspect of a lot of the cards that we can see in the mini set is none of these are really catered around OTK decks. In fact, literally 0 of them are. Currently right now, you could use Hit Them Very Hard with Soulbound Ashtongue, and maybe if you wanted to use the new Dragon Legendary for Mage to do some crazy combo. But that's the biggest thing about this mini set, is that combos don't really seem to exist in it. There's no insane mana cheats, there's not insane draw, and the draw is given to Hunter, which is probably going to go in some kind of face deck, which means Control Warrior could just counter it. There's no insane damage things that could just go face without a massive setup. If this mini set is any indication what the future of Hearthstone will look like, I am extremely excited for this year, and I hope you are as well. But what do you think? Is my theory correct? Do you think that they're going to make a more board-centric meta? Let me know with a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you ended up liking it, and if you did, again, I would appreciate a subscription, and you look fantastic. I'll see you in the next one.